right, it's almost impossible to see, but way down there at the end of the road is the Mississippi River. And I am on a multiple mile walk back to the Mississippi River from a mechanic. I've reached one of my favorite towns in America, and I'm getting to know it better than I've ever gotten to know it before, as we're back in Hannibal, Missouri. The van has been running rough still, and I made it into town because right next to the hotel I always stay at is an auto shop, maybe a quarter of a mile away. I can almost see it from the windows of the hotel room, but I took it there this morning and they were slammed, so I had to take the van a couple miles away to another shop, and they're also slammed, but they agreed to take a look at it later on this afternoon. I meant to be filming other stuff, but I got here 2 or 3 days early, so hopefully, even though I'm gonna lose 2 or 3 days at least, we'll at least get the old battle wagon primed up and ready for adventure again. Now, if you excuse me, I got a long way to walk ahead of me. Oh my gosh, that was a lot longer of a walk than you'd think it was, and very hilly at the beginning. But I'm back on the edge of Old Town Hannibal. See, the auto shop that I was originally intending to use is right there, and the hotel I'm staying at is right here. Back in the day, that walk would have been nothing to me. A couple miles, a couple big hills, but with that heart arrhythmia, whoo boy, takes more out of me than it used to, that's for sure. Just gonna stop over here at this beautiful house to rest. This place here is actually a famous house from the stories of Mark Twain, particularly the book Tom Sawyer. It was once known as the Welshman's house. If you've read your Mark Twain, you may recall when the widow up there on Cardiff Hill in the book, or Hollidays Hill in real life during Mark Twain's time, was about to be butchered by Injun Joe. Huck Finn came running down the hill to the Welshman's house to go and get help and save her. And this is that same building here, straight out of the pages of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, restored in 1961, and for the last couple of years serving a very important purpose, not just saving widows, but becoming an important part of the Hannibal story by becoming the Huck Finn Jim's Journey Freedom Center, a little museum all devoted to the African American experience here in Hannibal, Missouri. It was, of course, a slave state, Missouri, in the time Mark Twain grew up here, and it's really cool that that history is being more and more recognized. In fact, a descendant of Dan Quarles, who was the model for the character of Jim, has actually also visited this place and gave a great lecture. He lives in Texas now. Fantastic. I don't know why I'm bringing all this up now. This is just meant to be a quick update on where I'm at and that I'm alive and that the van is finally going to be worked on, hopefully today. I guess I just can't come to Hannibal without instantly thinking of its Mark Twain history. By the way, I'm sure this is gonna come back up in a future video from this trip, but the Welshman's house is right there, and the Huckleberry Finn house is only right there, and the Mark Twain house just beyond it. And then right in the middle of the cluster sits my hotel, the Best Western on the river. The first time I came to Hannibal, I dreamed of staying there, but it wasn't in the cards. It's a very long story, and so every time I come back, I like to stay there, even though it's not like a 4-star hotel or anything, and just glory in that I did it. I've returned. I should head up there now and rehydrate, but first we're gonna see something else. Another, and maybe the most epic touchstone when you're crossing the country from California. The epic, the grand, the wild and wonderful Mississippi River. Wow, this is incredible. This has all changed so much. This is where that Welcome to Hannibal arch used to be, to greet visitors, theoretically, who would be pulling up to shore here. And they have completely redone this and created a whole new riverside. And look at this, a brand new dock over here, replaced the old one. Wow, and there's even a tugboat pulled up. Just one tiny little piece that's left of the continuation of river traffic from Mark Twain's day. The boats that push the giant cargo barges down the Mississippi. Look at that old man river. You know you've been somewhere when you've traveled from the Pacific coast to the Mississippi River. Man, this is also completely different. No more gazebo up on the levee. They still have the young Sam Clemens statue out here. Mark Twain, steamboat pilot, but I don't even remember if this is the original location. I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of my own videos. Oh, this is incredible. I'm gonna take my first rest right here catch my breath, and wait for the phone call, I guess. Dude, a lot has changed in this little sleepy town in the past 5 years since I've been here. There are new murals everywhere, new shops. The ghost tours even have new vehicles, a new cupcake machine, the new Riverwalk, of course, fresh coats of paint on everything. The Mark Twain Boyhood Home Museum has expanded, and I am looking forward to filming it all in the next couple of days. But I don't want to get too heavily involved yet, considering I gotta wait for that phone call on the van and might have to walk back tonight or tomorrow. And it's good timing anyways, because I've actually got a lot of editing to catch up on. So I'm gonna go rehydrate and get to work before I get back to work. Normally I don't film little updates between full-on Randomland episodes like this, but I figured you're along for the road. Oh my gosh, frog in my throat. I must have jumped in at the Mississippi. Jeez. But I figured you're along for the ride on the road trip, and it probably wouldn't do to just disappear for a couple days and leave you wondering what the heck happened. So yes, I barreled my way across Kansas to a friendly town, a good port in the storm, and in theory the van's gonna be worked on tonight. I'll come back and give you an update before I let you go on what they say. Well, it's grown pretty quiet here at sunset alongside the Mississippi River, and I'm just soaking in the view a little bit, trying not to let the river bugs fly into my mouth. I fortunately managed to get quite a lot of editing done, but not all the way. Some of these episodes take a long time. But if you're anything like me, that's not what you'd be interested in. What you'd be interested in is, what is the dealio with the van? Well, the shop called me up just before closing time and let me know that it does indeed need a full retune. They've got to tune it all up all over again, and they couldn't start working on it until, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 p.m. so it won't be done until sometime in the middle of the morning tomorrow, hopefully before I have to check out of my hotel room. Ooh. The cool thing is it forced me to slow down even more than I already would have, and that's kind of why I like coming to Hannibal, Missouri and places like this and stopping. Everything moves at just a little bit slower of a pace. And having no car has been interesting because I've been walking up and down the town, you know, forced me to talk to a lot more people and just really take things slow because it was powerful warm today. I'm a little bit annoyed that I couldn't film the full episode today, given that the weather was so perfect and so sunny, but I can't wait to hit the scene, the Hannibal scene tomorrow with you and show you some of the ways this town has changed over the last several years since we've been here together. And hopefully at some point tomorrow we'll also get the van back, because that would be awfully nice not to be so darn landlocked. If you see the 4 windows of that yellow building there right in the center, that is tomorrow night's accommodation. I'm pretty excited. I've never stayed anywhere else but Best Western on the river. Fingers crossed we get a room. Fingers crossed we get a room with a river view. We hit a little bit of a bump in the road, or to use the river terminology, a little bit of a snag. But it could have been a lot worse. Thankfully, the damage is more in time lost than in money lost. Although, wait a minute. Time is money. And luckily, for me anyways, it happened at one of my favorite places. All right, in the next episode, we're gonna gallivant through the town of Hannibal. We're gonna go inside this building that I've never been inside before, a pretty important one in the life of Mr. Mark Twain. And hopefully we will rescue our van and therefore our friend Julio, who stayed inside the van to guard what was left inside of it. Hopefully you enjoyed this little interlude here, this little update from the road. Let me know if you have any roadside breakdown stories of your own, and I'll see you guys next time.